Hi guys, Marshall here with Free the Self. Today I want to talk about the nature of self-hate and self-loathing and how it relates to codependency. Because literally, we were taught to hate ourselves with the lack or through the lack of being loved, appreciated, and enjoyed. See, children are not born with this natural sense of, I know how to love myself. We learn love by how it's modeled back to us by our parents. So a healthy or a person that has a resilient sense of self-love likely had parents that said, hey, I am grateful you exist. I'm happy you are here. I love your presence. The fact that you be. I adore your nature. I love these little quirks you have about you. I admire you. I like you. Unhealthy parents tend to send the conversation, or the kind of conversation they have with their children is like, stop, you're annoying. Why do you have all these needs? I don't want to hear it. Go away. You're such a pain in the ass. I don't like this. It's a very negative, very repressive, and very cruel message that the child receives, especially when they have a need or a want. They're like, oh, my needs, my wants, these feelings, these sensations I feel are causing them pain. And because I love them, I love my parents, I'm bonded to them and connected with them, I don't want to cause them pain, so I'm going to stop doing this. And that starts the inversion process. That's where we start to feel shame. That's where we start to lose contact with who we are. Because children need to know that they physically exist, that they have a physical existence. They're not just up here in their thoughts, but hey, I'm real, you know? And that happens with tactile interaction, like platonic consensual touch. Like, oh, yeah, hugs, tickles, teasings, things that are safe, back rubs, being held when we're in pain, being celebrated when we succeed, the physical act of just sitting with the person, sharing space with them, nudging them a little bit, you know, even like when my daughter will hold my hand, or my son will bump into me like, you know, hey dad, what's up? Those are acknowledgments of our physical existence. That's a form of affection, appreciation, and connection. And when we grow up in codependency, we grow up in a deprivation of physical contact, emotional nurture, and verbal affirmation. The parent, in a strange way, decides that we should know better. We should know how to take care of ourselves. I mean, I'm only 3, right? Oh, you're a toddler. Well, I'll just give you what you need and then I'll run away. You know, because it's such a burden. It's such a difficulty. My life's so hard right now, stop getting in the way. That kind of thing. This causes a lot of problems because we end up feeling a lot of shame. We wonder, do my wants cause people pain? Do my needs cause people pain? I'm a burden. I'm causing these issues. And so we retract from ourselves and we get disconnected. So, what do we do with all of this? How do we handle this experience of neglect and the self-hate that comes in with it, the shame that comes in with it? Well, first, we need to acknowledge it. We need to acknowledge our anger for what we didn't get. We need to acknowledge the pain that we are experiencing because of that neglect. And the acknowledgement means, I am feeling this. This hurts. Ouch. That's it. It's not about building a story out of it, saying, well, you know, I'm a piece of garbage because of this, or the world's against me, or, you know, something's out to get me because of this. It's more like, oh, yeah, this hurts, and it's natural for this to hurt. It's understandable for it to hurt because we've been neglected. We've gone through hell. It's gonna hurt. See, these feelings, these emotions of insecurity, shame, doubt are symptoms of the neglect. They are not results of who you are. They are not evidence for your lack of of deserving love, your right to love, your love of being lovable. They're symptoms of how you were treated as a child. They're the results of neglect and abuse. So they are not your fault. They're actually your allies, if you look at it this way. They're signals to say, hey, we need love here. Now, there's a challenge here, especially when with codependent thinking and codependent coping, where we have been conditioned to look outside ourselves for love all the time. So when we reference self-love, that can be a little repulsive. It can feel like, oh, but I want it from that person, and I want it from this person, because I give myself enough love, but I need it from them too. This is where we get stuck in relationships where we're chasing other people, and this is where narcissists, they pick up on this and are like, oh, I'll just love bomb you until you give yourself up to me, and then I'm going to suck you dry. That's how they work, and they look for these signals. So radical self-love is not about the exclusion of external validation, love, belonging, attention, and affection, or nurture. It's that external stuff is secondary. It's that we put ourselves first, and this is how it looks, because I know these can be generalized terms. The way this functions is that I allow myself to feel love towards my hate, towards the hate I have towards myself. Because that hate is an expression of a part of me that is very angry, very hurt, and very lonely, and very cut off. So what I do is I apply step 4 of the closure technique, which is called follow, need, want. Okay? So the first component there is follow in this sequence. Follow means I'm going to breathe into the sensation and pay attention to it. I'm going to pay attention to the message it gives to me. I'm going to pay attention to the images or memories that might come up with it. And I'm also going to breathe in and pay attention to the other sensations that start to show up, and to the messages I start to see and hear in my imagination. I may even note those on a notebook. Like, yeah, I'm having a memory or recall being told I'm a piece of shit. Okay, I'm going to write that down. And I'm going to breathe in and connect with the sensation. This can be a challenge because we do analysis. Oh, I got to fix it. I got to understand it. I got to fight it. That's going to get in the way of this. It's returning our attention back to just feeling the sensation in the body. Number 2, it can feed our story. It can trigger bigger things. What we do when we get triggered in that space is we bring it in too. We note it down. Oh, triggered. Here's the memory. This is a practice of observation. Observation is a mindfulness approach to seeing that our thoughts are things that we experience and our emotions are things that we experience. That we're not our feelings, we are not our thoughts, but we are the witness to them. This allows us to get some space between those things so that our reactivity can drop and our objectivity can rise, and we can become more available to letting them move through so that we can understand and experience who we are beyond those feelings and thoughts. Okay? So that's the follow sequence. It's like, oh, here we are. I'm feeling these things. This is what's happening to me. This is what happened to me. Okay. And then we go into need. What this means is I'm going to ask this part of myself that's hurting, what do you need? And I am going to listen. I'm not going to analyze. I'm not going to figure it out. I'm not going to fight it. I'm not going to doubt it. I'm going to listen. I'm kind of pointed here. I'm kind of blunt here because this is a common issue that gets in the way of healing, period. I've been at this for almost 10 years. And consistently, when people don't heal or they're not making progress, it's because they're analyzing, they're interfering, they're doubting, and they're trying to get a specific result rather than receive what is present with them and have compassion and acceptance there for what shows up. So, back to that need step. Ask this part of yourself that's expressing these sensations, what do you need? And listen. Just breathe into it and listen. And you're going to get something. It's usually the first thing you get. Sometimes it'll be like, I want to leave this space. Okay, that's what it needs. And when it says like this space or this place, it means inside this pain. So then you can ask it, where would you like to go? What would bring you comfort? And you can ask that question too. What do you need? What would bring you comfort? What would bring you safety? Another thing that really works well in this is to bring some love into the space. Now, you may not feel love, and that's okay. Invite it in anyway. Okay? Bring it in. Say, oh, I'm going to just invite some warmth and light into this space and wrap it around this person. You can even, if you have a visual of this part of yourself, which is called an aspect of self, just hug them. Connect with them. Love them. And be with them. You may cry. You may rage. You may become calm. That's okay. Take whatever shows up and move with it. And then you can ask them again, what do you need now? Maybe they want to go to a different place. Okay. Have them describe the place. Invite them to describe the place they would go. Invite them to describe the thing that they'd want to do. Invite them to describe the people they'd want around them. Whatever it is they ask for, invite them to describe what it is in detail. And as they do that, listen to the sensations in your body. These sensations are going to bring in the reality of that shift. Because this is where you're beginning to neurologically reassociate your circumstance and your trigger with a different emotional result. And this isn't woo-woo, this is actual science. You can check out Mark Waldman's work on this kind of stuff, along with Pete Walker and Peter Levine. Now, at this point, what you do is you invite them to step into this new space through a door. So there'll be a door where they're at, and you invite them to step through it. And when they do, this whole world expands for them. And then you step in through, you close the door behind you, and you invite them to rest into this space. You give them a chance to connect with this new state of feeling. And when you're doing that, you allow yourself to connect with those sensations and relax into them deeper and deeper and deeper. This is how we can begin to respond to our self-hate, our shame, our anxiety, our panic, our anger, our rage, our boredom, our emptiness, our loneliness, our fear, with those 3 simple steps: follow, need, want. Now, this doesn't completely encompass the closure technique, because there's other things that happen in each of these steps that are important. But this is a way of using the follow, need, want, or the 4th step of the closure technique to help you nurture a shift emotionally, especially when you're triggered. Okay? This, if you persist in this, and healing takes persistence, period. I've experienced instant healing in my own life, but that's not as common as persistent healing. And I find that clients that I've worked with over the last 10 years, the ones that make the biggest progress in their lives are the ones that are persistent in healing. They're persistent in applying the tools. They are persistent and consistent in responding to their stressors a different way. So that is essential if you want to transition out of things, to do that. So if you want more information on the closure technique, or if you even want to take a test drive of a guided version of it, click below. Also, if you want coaching in this, I've got a course coming up on rejection. It's called Total Closure, Rejection, or the End of the Fear of Rejection. You can take that below. That's down there. You can enroll. Or you can reach out and we can do this personally one-on-one through coaching. The links are below. Just click on them. Let me know if you have any questions or thoughts on this. I appreciate your guys' time with this. So your goal here is to begin to nurture that love. And another thing about self-love, because I tend to get ahead of myself, self-love is doing things that feel kind to ourselves, that bring pleasure to our lives. So if going out for a walk is pleasurable, do that. If watching a funny Netflix movie is pleasurable, do that. If writing in your journal is pleasurable, do that. If drawing is pleasurable, do that. If playing a game is, do it. Do things that you know have brought you pleasure in the past if you don't know what brings you pleasure right now. Sometimes depression and anxiety can get in there and cause us some anxiety and more depression. It can kind of compound on itself. But if they get in there, it can cause us confusion where we tend to forget what is pleasurable because we're listening for the sensation rather than going, well, I know this did it for me in the past. So that is very, very important to connect with and to understand that it's okay if you don't know what will bring you pleasure now. Go do something that has brought you pleasure in the past. Do it now. Okay? So reach out to people, discuss and share your feelings, but keep in check your story and keep in check your excuses for not changing. That's going to get in your way big time because playing victim is in your way. I can guarantee it. If you're not healing, you're not progressing, victim is in your way. Powerlessness and a belief in your powerlessness is in the way. Now, a word about being a victim. Yes, you've been victimized. You've gone through hell. Okay? So you didn't choose to be a victim, right? But we do make a choice to stay a victim. And that's where our power is. It's like, okay, this has happened to me. Now what am I going to do about it? That's where the power comes in. Okay? So, let me know your thoughts on this. Get to work on loving yourself, bringing a little more joy and compassion into your world. Give yourself a break if you think you're doing it wrong. Just do it. Evaluate the results. Come back and do it again. Evaluate the results. It took me years to break through some of my deepest self-hate. And I'll give you a little more history. I remember at the age of 6 planning my own death. And I wanted it to be painful because I hated myself so much. The depth of self-hate I had for myself, I would deliberately sabotage things I was succeeding at because I wanted myself to hurt. I hated who I was. I didn't like me. And I mean, I'm emphatic about it because, I wanted myself to suffer. And I had to work very, very diligently to break out of that. And it was with these steps that I did get through it. So, not everything happens quickly, but it will happen if you are consistent and persistent with it. Okay? Thank you again for your guys' time. Share this video with people you know can benefit from it. And let's transform your life by you beginning to tap into and experience the genuine feelings you have, and then bringing love in there and compassion in there, and honoring the brilliance and beautiful person you are. Because that's what I see in you. That's what I see in my clients. Their brilliance, their power, their majesty, and their magic. They matter. You matter. I believe in you. Kick some ass. And then we'll talk next week. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.